Recently, I had a conversation with an entrepreneur who wanted to know if I helped him build a strategic narrative, if that would replace defining the values for his company. And what I could tell that what he was looking for is if I was able to help him do this kind of exercise that consists of sitting in a room and brainstorming what your values are for your company, and then coming up with a set of 3 to 5, big lofty words that define how inspiring your company, because you're all about authenticity and collaboration and integrity and inclusion, say. And so this type of exercise, in my experience, could be useful, but unfortunately, most people who go into this research kind of from a theoretical point of view end up with things that feel very hollow, that feel very meaningless, because they end up kind of wordsmithing so much that they get lost in the definition, and whoever participates in the group has different meaning, different definitions for what's behind each word, right? And I don't know if you've experienced that, but I've experienced it many times, many years ago. And I decided I did not want to participate in such an exercise, because I could always tell that it was never followed up with anything concrete. In fact, it was hindering the business more than it was helping it. Because when you come with a set of a handful of keywords that really should be your North Stars in terms of values, and you can tell that nobody walks the talk, it creates a gap that completely destroys the trust about your company. So I've been thinking about this, and I've been thinking about the question that this entrepreneur was asking me. And then this is what I told him. I told him, look, I don't recommend doing this and just out of the blue defining what your values, unless you look at your values this way. First of all, what are values for? Your values are what helps you decide. When you run your business on a daily basis, all the time, you're constantly making decisions, small decisions, big decisions, and all of those decisions are driven by what you value, what you put in priority versus other things, right? So if your value is profit, then you're going to make decisions that maximize your profit. And the trade-off might be that you will leave behind what's not about profit. And so if it's all about profit, it's going to be driven by this, and you're going to make choices that maybe are despite other things. So values drive our decisions. Values could be aspiring values. So aspiring values are values that you hope that you really leave. Maybe in the future you don't leave those values yet, but you aspire to be more authentic, say, or like I said earlier, more collaborative. But you can tell that in your company you're not quite there yet. In fact, you're seeing that your team has a hard time working together. And so if you define what your aspiring values should be, then you do two things. You acknowledge that there is progress, and when there is progress, you keep your group, your company going. You keep it working on something that people will shoot for. So that's healthy. You're making room for growth. You're saying, hey team, one of our aspiring values is, I hear here everybody wants to collaborate better, but we're not quite there yet. So that's one way to frame it that is actually healthy and constructive, because you set it as a goal. The other way I've been thinking about value is demonstrated value. So if you look at the past and you look at what your background, the track record of your company is, and your accomplishments, and say the type of clients you or organizations you work with, or the type of people you help, and how you've delivered the product or the work that you do. If you look at this, and looking at kind of the breadcrumbs that you left behind you, the track record, you can tell what the values were without necessarily having been able to name them. You can see in the past how you made certain decisions. And these are demonstrated values because you can prove, you have examples, you have stories that will support your values and that will come as evidence of what your values are. And I think that in going into a value definition exercise with your team, it's really critical that you define, you make it clear which kind of values are we trying to define here. Are these our aspiring values, or are these our demonstrated values? Because if it's a set of aspiring values, it's not the same conversation as us looking at what we've done already and where we are now in our journey. Say we're a company with 5, 7, 10 or plus years of existence. We've accomplished quite a bit, and in looking at what we've accomplished, we would probably be able to prove that yes, we stand for fairness, for instance. That's a value that, or service quality, for instance. Customer service. Maybe that's one of your values, and if you do this, you should be able to prove that you've really set the bar really high. You have countless of examples of reviews, maybe on Yelp or other website, on Google, 5-star reviews that all rave about your customer service. So if you have that, that's an asset that really shores up what your true lived activated values are. So make sure that you make this difference. Both are two different kinds of conversations. And don't fall into the trap of just going into a conversation where, yeah, we're going to try to define our values kind of out of the blue. We're going to dream here, because you're going to land, if you do this again, you're going to land with a set of words that people won't take seriously. They won't know what to do with them, in fact. Now, when you build a strategic narrative, you go around a set of dimensions that look for evidences about how you run your company and where you want your company to go. So once you've done that, it's way easier to, out of that exercise, out of the system of stories that you build through your narrative, take a step back and see what are the values that really your company is supported by. So I hope this is helpful. I hope, as we are going into, sometimes it's almost June, it's mid-year for many companies, many businesses, and you look at what you've accomplished this year, you look at where you want to go for the second part of the year, and you're wondering, are we living our values? Are we standing, for our values? Maybe think about that way to frame what's behind the word values. Hopefully that helps. And I'd love to hear your comments. I wish you well in thinking about your values. I think it's a very healthy exercise. And again, don't fall into the trap of dying through an endless, meaningless wordsmithing exercise that's really not helpful for anybody. Good luck with that. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Please put some comments under this video if there is a comment box here. Or just send me a note at guillaume@metahelm.com and let me know what you think.